93, 93, 93. This is Aman Asha Renew from AshaRenew.com. Today I will be speaking on what you should be studying in or reading currently in 2022 and beyond. Should we still be interested in concepts such as the law of attraction or the secret? Or should we deal with things more so in the realm of quantum physics or quantum mechanics? Or should we go deeper into the occult, astrology, numerology, so on and so forth? And how I would answer that question is it's not necessarily what you study, that will help you advance in your journey because everyone's mind or brain is wired differently. So, because everybody's brain is wired differently, different information will have a different effect depending on how your brain is wired. So, even though you can say quantum mechanics or quantum physics may be a interesting field of study, if your mind is not necessarily rooted in science, then you're not going to gain what someone else may gain from that particular field of study. So, the first thing that must be analyzed is you must discover or analyze what concepts and what topics feel natural to you in a sense of what do you feel you already know? Meaning you may not know the technicalities of a thing, but you're still interested in the concept or the topic. Because whatever you're interested in, you should be able to comprehend any literature that you read about said subject. It will be your passion about the particular topic that takes you into the deeper realms. So, in other words, if you have a passion for the occult, then you should study the occult. And if you do not have a passion for it, it is not necessary for you to study that. That may be something you deal with later on once you make connections with the things you already have an interest in. Because the goal would be to connect all of the dots. So if you are scientifically minded, you are learning how to bridge the gap between spirituality and science or occultism and science. So if your mind is naturally occultic, then you should study science because science will help you advance your occult understanding. And if you are scientifically minded, then studying the occult will advance your understanding of science. It essentially will fill in the gaps for you. So essentially, what you are seeking is to fill in the gaps. Whatever your field of study is, whatever interests you have, that's really just an introduction. Because as we see, some people naturally know things before they study them. We are already naturally inclined to move in certain directions before we even understand the direction we are moving in. So in my life, as an example, I have had a interest in astrology since I was a teenager. So you can say my first fields of studies dealt with astrology. But it wasn't until I began to study the rest of the occult, which is the Kabbalah, the numerology, the tarot, so on and so forth. It wasn't until I studied these other things that I could fully comprehend the astrology, because just studying astrology alone didn't give me the full depth or the full picture. I had to combine my studies with other fields. Then, once I got a grasp on the occult, then I had to move in the direction of science and bridge that gap. Because these topics or concepts fit together, but they are not taught in that fashion. They are taught separately. So we must do the labor of merging these topics together. So you have to lay your foundation. So whatever you are passionate about, that's where you should start. And then everything else comes after, like the things you are less passionate about. Should really just be studied to bridge the gap instead of it being necessary for you to know. So if you are into psychology, for example, having a background in astrology will most definitely help you, especially if you are a student of Carl Jung, who helped us to bridge the gap between the zodiac and psychology. So we have these people in history who kind of gave us little hints as to how everything is connected. Whereas in modern times, most of these concepts are kept separate. So that's why I say we have to do the labor to bring all these things into one. So you lay your foundation with the things that you are passionate about, and everything else essentially gives the foundation energy. So, as I said in my situation, my foundation is astrology. However, when I began to add all the other dimensions to that foundation, now I'm able to see the full picture. When I was strictly studying astrology, I wasn't able to see the full picture. I was just moving in the direction of my passion. It wasn't until I began to study less passionate things that I was able to see this is why it is important to know these things. But I started with the passion and then extended into things I truly don't even care about at all. And then I'm able to even find connections with those things that I didn't have any interest with at all. So you should study what you are passionate about, then seek to merge that reality with all other realities, so that it truly is no separation between what you love and what you don't love, essentially. Once you look at it as one, now you know you are getting somewhere. Because as long as we keep these things separate, it would keep us in a state of knowingness. We would know the truth, but we would not be able to manifest the truth. Because in order to manifest the truth, we have to be able to make sense of things that are nonsensical. And because we speak English, we need to have a variety of words to use to explain things. So even things like astrology can be explained scientifically. It can also be explained mathematically. We don't just have to rely on just the concepts of planets and zodiacs to understand the entirety of astrology. So the direction should be in merging all worlds to become the universe. To find that all things can be merged, and that is what alchemy is all about. Finding correlations in places that you didn't see connections before until you expanded your arsenal. So, on the surface, you can say, well, astrology doesn't have a connection with psychology. On the surface, you can say these are two different fields of study. But once you begin to peel back the layers, you realize that these fields can actually merge together. And once you begin to see how the concepts are able to merge, then that is the direction you move in until you complete your cipher. So you may need to merge five different topics together in order to have the full picture. And whatever those five concepts may be is completely based on your passions and what gives you the necessary details to explain your passion. So it would be no issue for you to go in a scientific route or a mathematical route or even a technological route if you choose to go in that direction. So essentially, lay your foundation, and that's what STEM is all about. Either you're going through science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. So once you know what your foundation is of those four, then everything else can simply be added to that. And what you create from adding together these concepts would be something that is completely original, which would be the point. It's not enough for us to know the occult or astrology, numerology, science, quantum physics. That's a good start. But the goal is to be original, to make the connections that we didn't know existed, so that we can see things holistically and without error. And with that, I say peace. 93, 93, 93.